Hey everyone, welcome to episode 1 of From My RPG Library, the show where I grab a book off from my RPG collection and give you my thoughts about it. Keep in mind this is not a review show. I don't do book reviews. Instead, this is just a show where we talk about some of the books that we have in our library and we tell you what we think about them and how we plan on using them. So if you're looking for actual reviews, this probably isn't the podcast for you. This is episode 1 of this new show, and I wanted to kick this off with a book that has quickly become one of my favorite RPG books, and that is Beckett's Jyhad Diary. This is a book for the game Vampire the Masquerade, and it came to me via my co-host for the 307 podcast, Cody. He got it at PAX Unplugged this past year. And he was pretty excited to give it to me, as excited as I was to receive it. I had heard about the book through the Chicago by Night Kickstarter for the new V5. I opted not to buy in at that level because I wasn't sure. So it was kind of nice to actually grab this book and give it a thorough read. And just absolutely pleased with this book. It is so good. Beckett's Jyhad Diary chronicles the vampire Beckett. He's a gangrel. Is very well known in the world of darkness. It kind of journeys through his unlife as he encounters all sorts of characters within the world of darkness. It starts with the events in Milwaukee and Karna's Revolution. And from there, it just kind of travels around the globe. You get to experience all kind of neat things, including seeing the revitalization of clans like the Semeti, the Cappadocians, the Salubri, and even experience some of the Daughters of Cacophony, which is just neat because these are some bloodlines and such that don't usually get a lot of interest or even play. So it's neat to see those. I started playing the game in 2nd edition right around 1994. I believe it was. So it's nice to see some characters that I recognize, names like Marcus Vital, of course, Dracula. And also, when I first started playing the card game Vampire the Eternal Struggle, or Jyhad, when I started playing it, it's nice to see characters like Theo Bell and even Sasha Vikos help me to not feel so lost, less out of place with what's going on in the world of darkness, because there's a lot going on in the world of darkness since I left the game back in 97-ish, 98-ish. So it was nice to get caught up. Aesthetically, this book is amazing. The cover is a stylized Ankh, has a nice hardcover binding. Inside, the pages are a high gloss, heavier stock paper. There's even a bookmark attached to the book, kind of giving it that old world feel. The work is excellent, and I love the transitions between sections, and I'll go into that in just a little bit. Each chapter, as it were, gives you a story of one of Beckett's adventures, or misadventures, it just depends. And at the end, there is, and this is what I was talking about, at the end, there is this, a brief, here's how you can use it in your game section. Now, I skipped a lot of these because I just wanted to consume the stories. I wanted to read what Beckett had going on because I love this Indiana Jones type character. I think it's great that he travels around the world looking for bits of vampiric artifacts and knowledge. Beckett's a nodist, so he's always trying to find, in this case, the big thing he's searching for is the Book of the Grave War. And it's fun. However, each section, like I said, at the end of it, has this great, here's how you can use it in your game. And they really spell it out for you and give you some great ideas on how to use some of the stuff in there. Another part of the book that I really enjoyed, and this is going to sound kind of odd, is at the end of the book, there's a metaplot section. And that's where they break down what's happened in each of the different editions of Vampire the Masquerade. And it's great. As somebody who, like I said, stepped away from the game for several years, again, this is another way for me to keep caught up. The other thing that they do with this book is at the very end of the book, there is a section for all the people who backed this book on Kickstarter. And I wish I'd known about it. I wish I'd gotten back into Vampire when this was on Kickstarter because I absolutely would have done it. I did back Chicago by Night, and I am looking forward to other Kickstarters that Onyx Path might have coming up. So overall, I love this book. It is beautifully done. It's beautifully crafted. I'm so thrilled that this was a gift. But I do have some cons for the book too. For me, the biggest con is you really to follow along the book and stay completely, keyed into it, you have to have some really good knowledge of Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness overall. it's been more than, I'm embarrassed to say this, but almost 2 decades since I even messed with the game. So for me, I felt like I was a little out of the loop. Like I did, I did recognize some of the characters, but it forced me to start digging through some of my other books. I even ended up purchasing the Encyclopedia Vampirica. So that it was kind of a con for me, just because you really need to know Vampire the Masquerade. The other thing that bothered me was when Beckett was writing in the book, the way they did it is they wrote it in cursive as if it was actually Beckett writing. I think it's a neat idea, but I do think sometimes handwritten stuff like that can be difficult to read. When Lucida or Anatoly or any of the others were adding any sort of annotation to the book, again, it was written in this scripted handwriting, and it was sometimes a little difficult to read. I'm usually a very fast reader, and this book slowed me down considerably. And really, that's the only complaints I have. Again, I think this is a beautiful book, and those little cons that I have are completely not worthy of any more criticism. I have no criticism. This is a great book. So would I recommend you buy this book? Absolutely. If you don't want to spend the money for the hardcover book, you can get the PDF on DriveThruRPG. It is a great book to read as a player. It's a great book to read as a storyteller. It's a great book for anybody who is a fan of Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness in general. Cannot recommend it enough. I think as we start, because my group is playing the Giovanni Chronicles right now, which we have a podcast of, as we progress through the Giovanni Chronicles, eventually we're going to start doing more playing in the modern times. And I'm not sure that we're ready to jump into V5 yet, but we're definitely looking at future compared to 1444 and what we can be doing. And I'm excited to use some of the meta plots that are in this book to help spur some of the stories that we have. I think it's going to be really interesting. All right, so that's it for episode 1 of From My RPG Library. It's kind of a little chaotic, I'm sure, but hopefully this gets better as we move on. Episode 2, I'm going to be looking at the Guide to the Camarilla 1999 edition. So hope you enjoy, and hope you join me for the next one. Thanks, guys.